No one has more state pride than New Mexicans. The vibrant culture, bold flavors, unique history, and dramatic landscapes under our Zia sun are like no other. And the people of New Mexico are a rare breed. As diverse as we are, together we breathe life and soul into this high desert land. A land that promises adventure. I'm Michael Newman, and as your host, I'll be taking you with me as I seek out the best the land of enchantment has to offer.
New Mexico, it feels like home to me. It feels so true. It's time well spent when I spend it with you.
Thanks for watching another episode of New Mexico True Television. I'm your host, Michael Newman. In this episode, we're visiting stops along the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad, then and now. Past and present interweave in the destinations along the tracks of our rail runner, and we hop aboard to take them in. Arriving in downtown Albuquerque by rail today looks different than it did in the early 1900s, when the AT&SF Railway had ownership of these yards on the southeastern edge of the city. This complex of buildings served as a giant maintenance and repair shop for the trains once seen rolling through our landscape. Now, more than 100 years later, the energy of these massive spaces is palpable, the echoes of time pervasive when standing in these iconic symbols of the industrial age. But these architectural forms have been given a new function, hosting the Rail Yards Market every Sunday from May through October.
We're in Barelas, which is the original neighborhood in Albuquerque. This neighborhood was established in like the 1660s, believe it or not, even before Old Town. And then in 1920, a quarter of the workforce in Albuquerque worked right here. It was the epicenter of economic development. It was the vibrancy of the city. And so we've created a love and a rejuvenated understanding of the rail yards. So now, as time goes forward, we'll have a new generation that understands the importance of this place.
Yeah, and what do you think it is about, you know, such an industrial, large building? I mean, Albuquerque's not known for its historic industrial buildings like New York City or Pittsburgh or something like that. What do you think it is that creates this nostalgia for people in town?
Well, when you walk in, you see this industrial architecture, and this is one of the greatest examples in the world of remaining industrial architecture. You think about railroad towns, and sometimes you don't think of Albuquerque, but this was the division point for the railroads that came through. It was a hub. Even during the World Wars, this was a place where the rail yards was designated as a distribution and a logistical hub of great importance. And it's what helped Albuquerque be what it is today. And when they closed the rail yards in the 1970s, when they ran the interstate through, when they cut off 4th Street, it really damaged the neighborhood. Jobs were lost. Right. The neighborhood was isolated.
Right, you said a quarter of the population under one roof.
Quarter of the working population was here.
And to see so many people enjoying it now on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, just coming in, getting your produce, talking to people, and listening to music. This is what a city's supposed to be like. Ushering in this new chapter of the rail yards has been an effort of many. All right, guys, so here we are at a busy Sunday morning at the market, right? It's bustling. So I know there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that happens to put this all together. So Alaska, you handle a lot of the growers and the vegetable and the produce. So what is it like working with a lot of the local farmers here in New Mexico?
Well, it's a wonderful experience. All the sights and sounds and scents, all of it coming together every Sunday.
And then, Alex, and you handle more like the cultural aspect, because not only is this a market for growers, but artisans, crafts people,
we have
and
arts
then
and crafts
there's yoga.
folks.
Right.
We have yoga in the mornings, every morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
But we have a diverse section of arts and crafts here, and we really go through great pains to make sure that folks that sell here actually create their products here, which helps the local economy.
It's history, food, arts, music, everything under one roof. And this market is particularly special because where we are right now is actually on the original Camino Real route. So the neighborhood Barelas is a very historic neighborhood, one of Albuquerque's oldest neighborhoods. And so you had the Camino Real coming through here, agriculture along the Rio Grande, and then we are, of course, in the rail yards. This is one of the last locomotive repair shops in the country. So this is the last one that hasn't been restored. So we're really in these walls, kind of humming with innovation and kind of building our own community and innovation at the same time.
And I would add to that, there's such a diverse group of people that sell here, vendors, and we have a diverse population of people that come here. So that's one of my favorite things as well, just to see people from all walks of life come into the rail yards. We have a lot of volunteers, and just this place is the heart of the city. It represents, we represent so many different people.
I'm ready to sample some of the goods.
All right, man, what flavors you got here?
Cucumber chili lime, strawberry, raspberry, hibiscus flower.
Options. Strawberry. Strawberry, let's do that. That's a classic, right? Yep. Awesome, thank you, man. Feeling like a kid already.
Now that I've wet my palate, I decide to treat myself to a massage.
My body's very verbal.
This market truly has something for everyone.
So Sean, I love your work. It screams New Mexico. So can you give me more context into the work that you do?
Sure, I do traditional red tableau painting. I go back 5 generations in Spanish colonial art, but that actually led to some opportunities to do Day of the Dead art.
Okay.
And whenever I get involved in art, I do a lot of research. I got really interested in Day of the Dead, the history of it. And I just fell in love with the colors of Mexico and the colors of Day of the Dead, so I incorporate a lot of that into my traditional work.
What it feels like to be in a market like this that is so like porteño. It screams what Albuquerque, New Mexico
I know,
is about.
it's a perfect frame for me. I feel like so fortunate to have come in it right at the beginning, and I've grown with it like a little baby. I actually had like a table and like 3 images, and now I just exploded into this mobile shop.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. This
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Check out the website for the Rail Yards Market for upcoming events. And make sure to visit the neighboring Wheels Museum, celebrating the history of transportation in our state. And then pop over to El Modelo Mexican Foods for some local flavor. Up next, I head north to a stop on the Chili line.
Do you take a lot of pictures on your New Mexico travels? Well, if you do, show us by hashtagging New Mexico True on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
The first AT&SF train pulled into Santa Fe in 1880, bringing many tourists on board. Today is not much different. The rail runner pulls into a revitalized rail yard district, complete with shops, galleries, and farmers market, bustling with locals and travelers alike. Just a few steps from this platform, though, is the old Guadalupe station, the depot for the Denver and Rio Grande line that ran from Santa Fe into Colorado, now home to Tomasitas. Serving up New Mexican standards in a historic red brick train station, this previous stop on the so-called Chili line now beckons you to stop in for your chili fix.
So Iggy, how long has Tomasitas been up and around?
It started in 1974 on Hickok Street.
Okay.
Then in 1980, there was an opportunity to move into this train station.
And why would you say it has lasted that long?
Well, the main reason is the locals put it on the map. Everything is a staple indigenous of this area. And this is what the people grew up with, this type of chili: red chili, green chili, fasoli, beans. And so they were our regular customers when we first started.
It's got to mean a lot to you when a place that has been steeped in the authenticity of New Mexico, it creates the buzz that it needs to, and people come and seeking out the food that you guys have to provide.
I got chills on my hand already. When I come to work, it's an adventure. It's not a job. It's like you're coming to my home. We're entertaining you all the time, and we want to give you the best service possible.
So let's go in depth into the food and what makes it like the authentic food that it is.
The green chilies from the Hatch area, the red chilies from the Hatch area. We get chicos on weekends. They're harvested here up north here in Milwaukee. So everything's indigenous to this area. We make our own homemade tamales. We're staying authentic and true to everything we can.
Right. And what about the preparation? Do you guys do that in-house for like the chilies and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, we cook about 300 pounds of green chili a day. A year we go through 80,000 pounds. The red chili, we go through about 12,000 pounds of red chili after we grind it out and puree it. So again, it's a huge staple.
And so where does the name Tomasita come from? And is there an origin story to that?
There is. It's a beautiful lady. She's passed on now, but her name was Tomasita Leyva, and she was the head cook of Tomasitas at the old location on Hickox. But these are all her recipes from her parents, grandparents. It goes on through time, these recipes.
So yeah, before there was a restaurant, those recipes, how many, 4 or 5 generations back too?
That's right, they're timeless, they're her recipes.
Right. That's a special ingredient.
Oh yeah.
I've seen enough plates go by that I'm starting to get hungry. I decide to ask some of the locals what they would recommend.
Thursdays, it's always flautas.
Okay.
Yeah, but everything is good. The Randy Travis plate is good. The sopapillas are delicious.
We come on a weekly basis. We enjoy their drinks here. So I get the the frog, which is a regular house margarita with a shot of Grand Marnier in it. They have the swirl, which is the margarita with the sangria in it. My friend, it's actually his great-grandmother's restaurant, Tomasitas. So we just have always been coming here for years, but it's a legacy that has continued on for many years.
Sounds like a good tradition to me. Take the first rail runner up on Saturday morning to check out the Santa Fe Farmers Market. Get your art fix at Site Santa Fe or the many galleries in the rail yards too. After a bite at Tomasitas, catch a flick at Violet Crown Cinema before taking the rail runner home. Some train aficionados help bring an old steam engine back to life. Stay tuned. If you missed an episode or just want to see more of New Mexico True TV, visit our YouTube page at youtube.com/Visit New Mexico. There you can find all of our full episodes and segments. Pulling into Albuquerque's downtown rail runner station, you'll encounter the new incarnation of the historic El Alvarado. And blocks away on another set of tracks is an old steam engine also getting a new lease on life, thanks to the New Mexico Steam Locomotive Railroad Historical Society.
So Mike, tell me some of the history about this locomotive.
Well, this locomotive was built as part of the war effort in 1944. The Santa Fe Railroad needed a lot of locomotives for all the freight and troop traffic and so forth. And steam locomotives, they didn't want them. They wanted those brand new fancy diesels.
Right.
But high horsepower, lightweight, compact diesel engines were all going to the Navy for submarines, patrol craft. And so they had to go back to building steam designs. And they were good designs. They'd worked them out for many, many years and built what became the last run of passenger locomotives for the Santa Fe Railroad. There were 30 of them built. There's only 6 of them left. This is the only one that'll ever run again.
From the onset, when you have this big piece of machinery, you know, what is the goal when you say, all right, let's attack this?
The goal is to sell you a ticket and take you for a ride. This machine has basically been torn down to the bare metal, and everything has been dismounted and rehabilitated. We're putting it back together.
That's so cool.
And so these would be occasional excursions with maybe 400 or 500 passengers in cars behind the locomotive going for a ride.
That's great to see something that was the beast of its time.
This was the biggest, fastest northern locomotive, which is its type of locomotive, and it was the pinnacle. They never got any better than this one. They never built any more of them. There have been no improvements made because there haven't been any more locomotives like this made, period.
Wow. Okay, so it is state of the art.
It was state of the art in 1944, and it's still state of the art.
And bringing that to life to people that maybe have no, correlation or relationship with, railway and locomotive life, right?
We want to take guys your age and show them how their dad and their granddad lived, because they got around this country principally on railroads, on passenger trains. And this is a chunk of history that can live again.
I think what you guys are doing is so important for, from a historical perspective, but also from like an entertainment kind of just understanding, like this is fun. This is like work for people back in the day, but you guys are volunteering your time to come out here and work on this big chunk of machine.
And when this thing runs, there's going to be big grins all over the place, and I'll just be happy to say I was there. I made that happen.
The thousands of man-hours put into this locomotive are visible in every inch of the train. And we haven't even gotten to the best part.
Wow. Hello.
There you go. Come on down. You're good. Not bad. What a man, what a man.
All right. Oh, wow. This is huge.
Welcome to the firebox.
Okay, so this is where you guys make the fire for the train, right?
Yes, this has an oil burner down between us here. It throws atomized oil into the center of the firebox, and it ignites, and the column of flames turns and goes back up over my head and forward all the way to the smoke box on the front end.
Okay.
Temperature in here is about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. So 5 times what your kitchen stove does. It's sort of Jonah in the belly of the whale. These aren't ribs. These are hollow tubes that carry water in a passive fashion from the top to the bottom so it can circulate and causes the boil to be more uniform so you don't have a hot spot and a cold spot.
Mike has certainly given me an inside glimpse into the inner workings of this engineering marvel. But he's not the only one on hand to dispel the mysteries of this steam engine. On their work days, Wednesdays and Saturdays, any of the volunteers are happy to tour you around and share the knowledge they've amassed while rebuilding the 2926. And their enthusiasm is contagious. That bell signals this group's biggest event, their annual open house, held each year between New Mexico State Fair and Balloon Fiesta. They pull out all the stops, creating a lively mix of activities in the shadow of the massive and majestic 2926. Here, it becomes clear to me the wonder and romanticism associated with the railroad have no age limits. We all love trains. There's just something about them. And I have to say, even with my new knowledge of how a locomotive operates, it does not take away from the magic it embodies.
And now, here's another New Mexico true treasure.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Latham, and when I think about all of New Mexico's true treasures, the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad has to be at the top of the list. What makes the train ride so special is that it really is just a trip back in time, and from the moment you step on the train and the conductor rings the bell, you're transported back into the days of the wild, wild West. Around every corner of every moment of the train ride from Chama, you are just in complete wonder, awestruck at the beauty, the mountains, the snow, the water, and the streams. For me, it was a really great family experience. We went to Chama, we spent the night in this charming B&B. We woke up the next morning and had a hearty breakfast burrito before getting on the train, and it was something that both of my young children could enjoy that we did together as a family that I hope to become tradition.
Coming up, a Harvey house still open for business.
Do you need a reason to hit the road? Find out about upcoming events around the state at newmexico.org. And now, from the pages of New Mexico Magazine.
To really get a glimpse into the golden days of the railroad in the American Southwest, you need to take the rail runner south to Belen, where one of Fred Harvey's famous Harvey houses has been converted to a museum and whose collection pays homage to this era of railroad history.
Right now, you are standing in the formal dining room of what was the Harvey house. In essence, a Harvey house was a restaurant. It was beautifully set, as you could see from this table.
Gorgeous china.
Mr. Harvey, who started this whole process, he insisted on Irish linens, crystal, English, China, the works. He wanted the best for the patrons who ate on this side. They would get off the train right there off those first tracks, come in this door, entered by a maitre d'. The soup or salad, their first course, was on the table waiting for them, and they already had placed their orders on the train. And that information was telegraphed here ahead of time. Belen was a refueling stop for the train, and it took 30 minutes to do the refueling. So that's how long the patrons had to eat their meal, which is why it had to be a well-oiled machine. The girls were trained very, very well in the art of serving, and they treated every customer with dignity and respect. That was a two-way street for Mr. Harvey. He felt that if any of those patrons disrespected the Harvey girls, out. And he meant it.
He ran a tight ship.
He did. He did. Now, he learned the restaurant business in New York when he got off the boat as an immigrant. The first help wanted sign that he saw was in a restaurant. They hired him as a dishwasher. So he learned the business from dishwasher all the way up.
And how long was the Harvey, what was the golden days of the Harvey houses?
This one in particular opened in 1910 and went until, the late 30s.
So I mean, a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it was.
Fred Harvey had a vision of creating a civilized experience in the untamed West and successfully built a hospitality empire along the tracks of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway. But for all his imprints along the railroad, the gracious young ladies known as Harvey girls are his most enduring legacy.
This is the original staircase that leads up to the dorm rooms upstairs. And as the Harvey girls came in the evenings, the dorm mother's room would have been most likely this one because she had to do bed checks. The girls had to be in at 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So if they were not here, they had to remember which of the stairs was squeaking, so you wouldn't step on that one. Now we're coming to the T intersection, and this was the manager's suite.
Okay.
And again, if a Harvey girl wasn't in by 10 o'clock and thought she would sidestep the dorm mother's room and come up the fire escape, well, she had to go past the manager's suite. Part of a Harvey girl's contract also was that they could travel. Harvey girls, once they worked for 6 months for the company, they could travel anywhere the Santa Fe went for free.
That's a good benefit. And what would be a typical day? Like, how many hours were they working?
A typical day would be that a Harvey girl would get up at 5 o'clock. They had to be ready for service at 6 o'clock. And then they worked 3 shifts. And they were asked not to wear jewelry and makeup during the days that they worked. On their one day off, they were discouraged from doing so. And the reason for that was Mr. Harvey didn't want his girls to be confused with those painted ladies. That's why we wear a nun's outfit.
Right. But there's a certain prestige that, there was an air to the Harvey girls that...
Well, Mr. Harvey did not want his girls to be called waitresses because waitress was still kind of a demeaning term. They were Harvey girls.
Fred Harvey. You gotta tip your hat to the man. After your visit to the museum, cross the street to grab a bite at Pete's Cafe. And don't miss the historic Doodlebug engine on display just around the corner from the museum. For more great stories like this from New Mexico Magazine, visit newmexico.org. Glad you could join us on our travels by rail, and hopefully it inspires you to jump on the train and see it for yourself. With that being said, what are you doing next weekend?